So this is the story about how I was locked in a garage with my head shaved, and basically starved, and how I got out. I grew up in a very abusive household, a mom that bounced around between husbands and men, had several different children by different fathers. She was a drug dealer since before I was born, lead singer in a very rowdy sort of biker band, and my life was filled with illegal activities. It was always sort of hammered into my head that, and my brothers and sister, that that you don't snitch, you don't rat. There were certain things you don't talk about. It was well known, you don't tell a mom, and there were consequences if you did. Caught my mom and my brother doing drugs together. My brother was 17 years old. He had been very sick his whole life, and I was only 11. I had learned about what drugs were mostly from school, that they were bad anyway. And I kind of put two and two together. That's why we don't talk about this stuff that's going on at home. So I caught them doing drugs together. It was sort of heartbreaking for me. I jumped out a window and took off running. Went to a friend's house, another friend's house. I stayed gone for 3 days before a parent got suspicious and took me to the police department, and I told the police that my mom and my brother were doing drugs together. My mom had been beating me my whole life, and all the things that had gone on in my family pretty much. And my mom came down to the police station. She was a master manipulator. She was somehow able to convince them that I was some sort of juvenile delinquent. I know that CPS was called because I was interviewed that night before they sent me home, and I believe at that point they opened up an investigation into my mom. But they sent me home with her. The second I got into the car, before I even got my seatbelt around me, I was backhanded in the face. I was screamed at the entire way home. When I walked in the door, there was a group of my mom's friends and bandmates and random people in the house waiting for me. They immediately kind of jumped on me. There was fighting and struggling. I broke free. I ran. I didn't know what exactly was going on, other than they were trying to get me still and hold me down and get me to stop moving. They shoved pills in my throat, mouth that I spit up. I fought. I fought hard. I fought for my life. I kicked a grown woman in her face. I hopped over couches. I threw tables. They caught me. I'd break. I'd run. I'd get away. They'd get me again. They had me on the kitchen table. I finally gave up, and they cut off all my hair, stripped off my clothes except for my t-shirt, and I was thrown out into the garage where there was a cot, and I was locked in there. It was pitch black. It's cold. I didn't know whether it was day or night. It was very disorienting. It was very difficult. I had knocked on the door. I banged on the door for days. I cried. I begged. No one. One day, the door opened. I was at a vantage point, so I couldn't see exactly who opened the door. It was steps up into the house. I couldn't see up there. And a Cool Whip container was thrown down onto the floor. When I opened it up, it was full of chili, like canned chili, which I eat. But that's always stuck with me for some reason. I felt like a dog. I felt like an animal. I felt so... Anyway, that's one of the memories from that experience that I don't know why that one sticks with me so much, so vividly. There was a old refrigerator in the garage that had some butter packets in it and some like emergency gallons of water that I drank and I ate. I felt bugs crawling on me. I heard some noise out towards the front of our house, which was some kids playing. I was screaming, I was yelling. My mom came out. I pushed past her and I ran to the front door and I ran 4 doors down. And I knocked on the doors and they called the police. The police took me back to the house, showed them everything that was going on, told them everything that was going on. They took me to the hospital and eventually I ended up at the children's shelter. My mom was not immediately arrested. She told them that I was some kind of delinquent, that she couldn't control me or stop me from running away, and that's where she put me to control me, I guess. She was eventually held accountable. It was a big thing. She raised me believing that I had another name and a different father, and there was courts and there was a lot of things happening where they changed my name back and they removed parental rights from her, and all she cared about was losing some sort of benefits that she got, and she wanted to know where they were going to go. It was awful, but anyway, so she lost all of her kids, including my brother who died. But so that's what eventually got me taken out of that house. Obviously, it can still be hurtful to think about, but I survived. I'm grateful that I survived.